Hello, welcome. I'm Bronwyn Kenku, and this is another episode of Backyard Progression, a series in which I take you through my backwoods and talk a little bit about, game dev and like gamer logic when applied to the real world and real world situations. Uh, it's kind of wild. I've been very interested in Stardew Valley for a long time, but not necessarily in the way a lot of other people are. A lot of other people seem to be very interested in the relationship aspect, which I could give any care that it existed in the game. Like, to be fair, it's mostly just like I want to see the cutscenes. I want to learn more about these characters because they give you crumbs. But the part that interested me a lot was the different ways you could make money in the game. So, having bee like little bee houses got you honey, honey made you money. It's not that easy in real life. So that one was kind of off the table. You have to actually like have bees. Like have a queen and a hive to work with. And of all the time I've lived here, I have never seen a beehive. Like I've seen some underground wasps. I've seen some carpenter bees. I've seen some honey bees. We do have them, but I've never seen like the hive. So it's really interesting to think about that as a concept that it would even be possible. But I've been looking at the flowers and trying to imagine life as a bee in needing flowers to survive. And occasionally, humans like to cut the grass. The grass is unfortunately a source of flowers. So you'll get little random bits that flower, because most plants do. And we are in a very big time cycle, and our flowering things are in very short cycles. So, like, if you fuck up and accidentally kill one of the few flowering items in a period, you could fuck up the bees. Like, this part in May is what I call the green. So everything starts to get very green very quickly. The ground hits first and then it'll hit the trees. More on that later. But most people know that dandelions come up very quickly and flower very quickly. But then they see them turn into the little puffballs and be done. I don't think that happens without pollination, either by the wind or by insects. But it's important to keep that in mind. Like, if, and then if it does that, it's going off to make the second, or not the second, but probably the third or fourth line of flowers for the future. Just keep that cycle upwards. So there's a lot of weird flowers finishing their first bloom. Like the tulips that we had in front of my place, they're all done and down. They've lost all their leaves, they've gone into a bud. So the bees have done their job there. Our that flowering bush that I walk by, that's going down, being nearly done. So I took interest in this specific spot, and we're gonna see over weeks a different thing that I'm doing with that. I'll talk more about that later, but keep that in mind. Just put a pin in that. I've got a couple pins going. It's fine. So also there's a plant that I talk about a little bit here and there. It's called May apple or mandrake, I think, and it's a good sign that you're around a space that can have uh, morals and values, but that's besides the point. So the mayapple is flowering currently. Try to keep like that in mind that that's starting, while other things are finishing. Different flowering bits. Our what's it called? Lilacs are coming in and blooming just now. They're fantastic. Big fan of those. Um, and the whole life cycle depends on this kind of uh, progression of the flowers, making sure that some are around each, like micro season. And it's weird to think of micro seasons because there's a lovely graphic that comes to mind for the area I live in, and it talks about like, oh, you think it's winter, but it's really like it's got like 8 little seasons of like first, first mud, then like snow, then the the unintentional thaw, then the hard freeze, then like you get into spring and it's the what was it? Like snow, then the rainy season, mud season, second winter, because you gotta have second winter, and then Fool's Spring, stuff like that, where it's just like all these little sections, and it's cute, and like people get a laugh out of it, but it's pretty true to form. Like at this point, I can almost guarantee we're gonna get some warm weather in about February, and things are gonna get kind of weird because it's February and it should be cold, but it's not. Global warming, it's happening. But people who live in places that only have a couple seasons don't see it. When you have all of the seasons, you get some bonus seasons, I guess. It's a set bonus. So, in moving on with that thought, it's. I looked into the wood chipper idea with all these like little branches around, and it turns out that the cheapest one I could find would be like $100. And that's out of my price range. Unless some uh, fortunate or favorable soul would like to donate, and or uh, give me a wood chipper to test. I would love like product placement. I would love to review your product. I'd love to see what it can do. Um, I think that'd be kind of great. I'd love to test a lot of products. I mean, I have a saw I like, I have loppers I like, but I lost. I'm real upset about that. Like, I went, was doing something, got low, and then walked back and forgot to put away my loppers. So, they are in the screen somewhere, and they will likely be lost for a while. It will likely be my post meal exercise / walk to look in spaces I've been working and see if I can't find them. Because I'm not sure if it's this video or last video, you can definitely see them. They're hanging on a tree, but they are no longer there anymore. I have moved them since. Um, Also in this video, I actively thought it would be a great idea to talk about picking up sticks and talking about how we bring stuff back. Because in real life, your backpack is even smaller than the Stardew one. Like, you've got 2 slots, maybe. Depending on how big the item is, you may only have 1 slot. So, and if you have a backpack, you can't fit shit in that. Like, you can fit your tools, maybe, like a little saw or a pair of mini loppers, the like snippers. Um, but most of the time, it's just encumbrance, and it's not worth it. Like, you're not really hanging an axe off your belt. It's just not. It's not feasible. Um, but the only other alternative I could find on like how to chip your own wood if you're just like using hand tools is just an axe or a hatchet. And that's sad. That's not what I wanted to hear. Not what I wanted to hear at all. So, unsure if I can continue that thought without um, the kindness of others, but we'll see. I'll keep an eye out for yard sales and do what I can. So, it's always the magic of RPGs and things. It's really good to uh, get out there and like to use your body. Otherwise, it's not gonna work. Um, yeah. So it's one of those things where I I don't know how to feel sometimes in survival games because like it is not very gamey to only have 2 inventory slots in the hands that you have and maybe a third if you have a backpack. But like that would not be very fun. Even in Stardew, you feel overburdened only having, I think it's like 10 slots. Like it's just impossible to hold on to all the things you need. Because it's not like you can't just have your hoe hanging out in your garden and just like pick that up when you need to and like go smash a thing when you need to. You have to kind of hold on to these things. That's not reasonable. Like, I will. Like, I wish my Discord were more active. I would absolutely, like, recreate what a protagonist of these different games would be. Maybe have that as, like, goals for subs in my Twitch. I think that'd be kind of great. Like, having a pickaxe and an axe and, like, a handful of dirt to be a Steve or whoever the female Steve is. Um, like Stardew with hand scythe and uh, a hoe and a sword. Like you have so much crap that you're just like, I really should have a loadout for what I'm going to pick up. And then like a backpack makes sense for coal and some sticks, but wood in that game is a little weird. Same with rocks, but all the same. Uh, it's very, it's very true to form of just like you have to have that suspension of disbelief in a couple places, and that's important to like be aware of your suspension of disbelief in movies and games. Like you'll have a lot of people who don't get it be like, that's so unrealistic. Like, yeah, it's a movie, or yeah, it's a game. Like, suspension of disbelief here and there. Like, this is the world we've created. So, it's it's hard engaging in it in real life because you don't have those magic aspects. Uh, I thought about doing some video, maybe as like a bonus or extra, of like cutting down a tree and what that actually looks like in real life, or um, using a pickaxe and what that looks like in real life to fuck up some ground, make a little trench. Um, it's it's tricky because I don't know what people would want to see, and I feel like it's cute and hot when uh, certain people do things, and other times it's just like, what are you doing for other people? So, like, these are the May apples I was talking about. They're flowering currently. Yeah. Um, so I couldn't directly point you at the progress I've made this week. I've been kind of just fooling around, playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom. It's been really good. Puzzles are really good, and the different environments are really good. And that's as much as I'll say without the spoiling. Um, Solid game. Recommend. High recommend if you like puzzles. Anyway, uh, it's these crafting games that really get me because I understand that I have a lot of resource that the average person doesn't. But I have no idea what to do with it because it's so out of our culture to use these things. To, like, how does one utilize a giant down tree aside from it's in the way, I've got to get rid of it, may as well burn it. So, like, in theory, I could dig a hole and move that tree that was right here and is currently there uh, into like an upside down table. Like, well, not an upside down table, it would be right side up. Upside down tree stump would be a table. Like, I've thought about that idea for a long time, and it really resonates. It feels really good. Unsure about how useful it would be, but like, a lot of the times I'd just be putting tools and stuff on it. But like everyone, I have that habit of like, if I have a table or a flat space of any kind, I'm going to fill it up with stuff. Because that's what it demands. Don't ask. Stuff will just find its way on the tables. Alright, so I'm going to do a quick BRB and switch over to this week's video. Oh, that's still last week. This week. Shazam. Alright, this week. As you can see, the trees have full leaves. So we are getting a much more green landscape. The the budding of the leaves is leaving a lot of debris, and that can be kind of seen here and there. The knotweed has decided to resurge, so I need to get out there and knock all this down again. Maybe find some way to keep this down. Like, unsure. Definitely an issue that I need to better resolve. Creek is really down. Haven't gotten rain in a while, so spring showers not really happening. But uh, it's still a thing, and you got all these ferns and grasses that are coming up. This is a more natural lawn. You can see that some things are just blooming. It's wild how we've come to think about grass only when a more natural setup has such a variety of different plants, such a variety of things that wouldn't be in someone's front lawn. Like, could you imagine if someone's front lawn was just like all of these ferns? I don't know what an HOA would say about it. Like, what are you doing? But like, sometimes grass just happens. Like, this is not planted. It just got here from other blooming grass. And I've been obsessed in this past week thinking about how to propagate natural useful plants. So like the meme about mint is like, oh yeah, it takes over, but like my mint is incredibly well behaved. It stays in its little spot. Like, I would love it to spread. Like, I would want it to just take over this whole section that it lives in. That would be fantastic. It doesn't. It's peppermint though. I'm not sure if that matters. I did plant a regular mint, but it's just hanging out. It's still like a couple little plants. It's not spreading the way people make it out to. Same with the onions. I can't wait for them to be into a situation where I can expand their territory. Because I would love to just like pop out my front door or back door and be like, Shazam, let me pick some onions. Or just like snip off the little bits. I've talked a lot about if you buy shallots at the store, you can put the bulb into water, like a little shot glass, and just like cut the tops and it'll regrow like pretty much infinitely. Like you can just keep your uh your onion experience infinitum if you're good about it and if you have enough little like shot glasses of onion. It's amazing what you can regrow. Same with uh celery, if you're into celery, that bottom bit, if you put that in water, the roots will form and then it can start growing a new celery stalk. It's There's a lot of TikToks out there about taking the seeds from a lot of different store produce like blueberries or bananas or whatever. Different ways to get avocados started. And real quick, I'm gonna pause. So I mentioned this iron-rich creek section. So I am playing with a concept for making a better concrete, the iron-based instead of like I forget what I was using, like more of an ash-based. And we're gonna see how that works. So that'll be a fun little experiment, and that's something that I am working on, and I'm real excited. Yeah. So, uh, back on foods, yeah, like certain plants, white roses are the ones that we looked at. That if you put food coloring into the water, you can paint the white roses red. It's super funny, like that different plants will absorb color in different ways. Um, it's one of those things where some people have never seen the different varieties of pumpkin colors or eggplant colors that just occur naturally. And I feel like that's more of a soil thing. Like if you have it's if we had more access and more understanding of the world we lived in, some things wouldn't be as mystifying, but sometimes, yes, we get bees that are making weird colors of honey. And it's like, hey, why is that happening? Love my little onions, gotta pet them. um, so it's turns out sometimes it's man-made because we get Skittles and there are certain countertops or whatever they were called that would just like get thrown out and the bees would be like, sugar! And just have a sugar rush and absolutely go wild and make blue or whatever colored honey. It's wild. It's great. um, I love that. Truly. I'd love to own bees. I'd love to have my yard doing more for me. And I'd love to hear, like, because the ideas I get from video games are very limited. Like I said, Stardew, there's a few things I could do, but fishing is definitely not one of them. Definitely don't want to fuck around with my little frogs and lizards in the ponds. Definitely can't be hunting for animals all year round, because that doesn't work. That's wild. Oh man. There's so much that you can't do. Because it doesn't make sense to. When I was a little kid and I actually believed my father, he would talk about certain trees being worth a lot of money. And we have a lot of black walnut trees. Like, them being a hardwood makes them kind of valuable. Also, just notice this. What the heck is that? No idea. So that never came to fruition. That's not a thing that ever happened. And it just really jaded me for a lot of different reasons. So I would love to have a tree farm, basically, because that's really what we do have in a lot of ways. But like, I don't know. I don't know what a good tree would be worth. That's something probably to look into. Because I'm real tired of not having a car. It's still an issue. And missing out on a LARP season because I don't have a car has gotten me really antsy. It has been nice on my streams to garb up and kind of give myself reason to be wearing garb and having garb. But it lacks the community aspect, which is something I talk about in therapy a lot, is not having a community aspect being very detrimental to my mental health. And that goes for everybody for the most part. If you're isolated, you're not going to be well. It's wild out there. And we are not a community by any means. There are communities out there that can make you feel loved and accepted and be part of them, but it's really wild that by default you got nothing. You got nobody, especially if you don't like your family or don't have a lot of family. You don't have that as an option. So also, when you live in the middle of nowhere, people don't want to come visit, which is fucked up. Because it puts the onus on the person who lives forever away to always do the driving and can create resentment. And it's probably why equality is such a big factor for me. Like, it's one of those things where in school, in different situations where you have group projects like work or whatever, the lack of equality in work always bothered me. And a lot of people don't realize in their own home that if you need to be ordered around or told what to do, that is also work. So if something needs doing, do it. Don't be a bad roommate or partner. Like, find ways to make it a thing that isn't horrible. When I was cohabitating with somebody, I would always just like rock out on some music, do the dishes, make some food for a few people, hang out, make sure the vacuuming got done, like make a schedule, work out, evenness, talk about it, make it a discussion point. Because sometimes people don't express their resentment. They just bottle it up and let it explode. And that's not healthy either, but it's better to make it very much a situation you can talk about it. Also, there's a little flower, the Mayapples, they're doing their thing. Yeah. It's kind of wild that they, like, shield their flowers. It's very hidden. Super weird plant. So yeah. Figure out what makes your system run. If you need to be, like, living on your own, you end up doing all of the things and being very aware of them, like laundry and dishes and cooking food every day, making sure people and things are clean. Kind of important. You want to minimize disease and whatnot, because mold likes to hang out. But I mentioned earlier, so that patch, if you go back a couple videos, you'll see that it was flowering. And now we've got all these other weird little plants flowering. So you can see it in my videos more and more, just how the blooming cycle can get fucked up very easily if you only have one type of flower or one type of flowering item in your area. Like, it's gotta be all year. So do your best to flower and make your life more fair, more equal, and yeah, till next week. So let's do the thing where I go to the end. Alright, thank y'all for watching. I love y'all. Hope that you have love in your life. Hope you have lots of fun and can utilize the tools that you have. Make your life a little bit better. So, till next time, everyone.